We start today with Philip Shaw, Senior Advisor at Goldstone Financial Group. Philip, you're on WGN. How are you today?
I'm doing well, John. Thanks for having me.
I think we're all doing well. It looks like this debt ceiling crisis is going to pass. Do you agree with that prediction of mine?
I agree. I think it's going to pass. Since 1960, we've raised the debt ceiling 76 times. So we've gotten pretty good at making these things go through, and the end result would be catastrophic if they didn't come to some sort of an agreement. The problem I see is they might just agree to kick the can down the road, if you will, make this an issue again in the fall, make this an issue again a year from today. But I do think the current one will pass.
I was reading David Brooks's piece in the New York Times today, and he said that, when you get to $32 trillion, you're getting close to a point at which this is going to become insurmountable, especially with Social Security being stressed for funds down the road as well. At some point, even if we don't like the idea of using the debt ceiling as a negotiating tool, we've got to start spending less or paying down on this debt. Do you agree with all of that?
Yeah, we absolutely need to. The current U.S. debt's almost $32 trillion, which means per taxpayer, that's about $248,000 per taxpayer. That is becoming an insurmountable amount of debt, and it's becoming a real drag on our economy, on the government's ability to spend and manage its own finances. And I agree with you. I don't think the debt ceiling is a great way to have a negotiating tool or a conversation. But we definitely need to get the spending in control across the board for the government.
I was looking at the amount that we pay just on interest on the debt. For how you've got a mortgage, forget about whittling away on the principal. You just got to at least not get underwater with the interest that you pay. And I don't see it, but I think it was, it was $900 billion. I'll find the number again in a minute. But what do you say about all of this? What should we know about this debt ceiling generally?
I don't think it's a great risk that it would actually that they won't come to an impasse, pass on this. They'll come to some sort of extension on the debt ceiling. But for people who are concerned about it, a lot of what we're advising for folks we're talking to is make sure we're boosting the emergency savings. Make sure that we have a financial plan in place that, even if there was some short-term, turmoil in the markets because of a debt ceiling issue, that it's not going to sink you financially tomorrow. So it's just making sure that we're doing a lot of things to prepare for that, a lot of things to make sure that, you have some stability regardless of what happens.
So how many months' worth of expenses should I have in the bank then?
It depends a bit on really what your expenses look like and also what your employment looks like. For a lot of folks, if you have a pretty stable employer, you work for the government, you're a teacher, you have a pretty stable outlook, you might not need as much as somebody who has, high bills, high debt, somebody who has a sales job, or someone who, in a recession might be at risk of losing it. We actually have a calculator on our website to help folks walk through some of this. It's a great tool to look at for yourself.
So what are the inputs, like my income, my debt, those sorts of things?
Yeah, and also, income, debt, how much, short-term other goals do we have? I know folks are saying, look, I have a child getting married in 6 months. What should I be doing with it? And that's a short-term goal. That's something we should be setting aside for.
I guess the range is half a year, somewhere around there. I mean, boy, that's a lot, though. Who's got half a year's worth of cash in the bank to float themselves if they suddenly lose or see diminished income? Is 6 months about the right number?
For most people, it's 3 to 6 months, depending on, again, some of the factors we were talking about.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay. Well, by the way, here's my advice. If you've got a wedding coming up and that's a short-term expense, buy a ladder, okay? Weddings are insanely expensive. They are too expensive now. Philip, your thoughts?
I couldn't agree with you more. I have a friend getting married coming up here very shortly. They took an interesting approach. They went international. gets your attendee count down quite a bit.
Oh, well, there you go. So, in other words, if you do get married in Spain, while that will be more expensive to get to Spain and stuff like that, you're not going to have to buy as many dinners and drinks for everybody, are you?
It's a little bit different having 20 guests versus 200.
My son got invited to a wedding, and it's a 4-day cruise. So that's nice, but I don't know. Do you want to go on a 4-day cruise, honey? That's the wedding. It's funny how these things are being set up these days. Okay.
Yeah, but when we think about something like the debt ceiling and any kind of these short-term, market issues, that's really what it's all got to revolve around. It's got to be, what is my plan for my money, and making sure that you're taking accountability and managing, your own finances for your situation.
I'm really interested in that calculator, and it's sitting right there at goldstonefinancialgroup.com, goldstonefinancialgroup.com. Philip Shaw is a senior advisor there. Nice to talk to you today, Philip. Thanks for your thoughts.
Yep. Thanks again, John.
Stay well.